Hello, today we're going to make a raw food dessert. We're making a Linzertorte. So it's based on a German-Austrian recipe using hazelnuts and raspberries. We're going to start by making some raw chia and raspberry jam. We've got about 200 grams of raspberries there, which are going to go into a bowl. And we are going to basically mash these up to get the juice flowing. Just a fork should do, or you could use a potato masher on this. You just want to crush them up. We're going to add a little bit of our sweetener. Now, I'm using agave and about a dessert spoonful of it, but this is entirely a question of taste. You could use honey, you could use stevia, you could use whatever you fancy as your preferred sweetener. But a syrup-based one is best because we actually want a little bit of liquid in here. So, put those that way. And the sugar content of the agave will actually start the juices in the raspberries flowing. Into this mix we're going to add a tablespoonful of chia seeds. Now they will start to soak up the juice that is coming from the raspberries. Give them a little stir in. And it will thicken slightly sort of gelatinous mucilage that is made by the chia as it soaks up the water. I'm going to put, there's the juice coming out of the raspberries and there's our agave, and I'm going to put just 1 tablespoonful of water in there as well. This then needs to sit. And we're probably going to leave it, well, the amount of time it takes to make the pastry base. But during that time, this will thicken up slightly. Give it the occasional stir when you think about it, just so that all those seeds are soaking in, scraping down the sides, so that it's all in under the liquid. And that can just sit aside at room temperature. We're going to be about 15 minutes sorting out the rest of the ingredients. So that's nearly ready to go. We're now going to make our raw pastry, in inverted commas. It's a nut-based pastry, and we're going to use hazelnuts, pecans and dates. I'm going to use a cup of each of the nuts. You might have measuring cups at home. They're basically 1/3 of a pint in old money. And it's about proportions rather than actual weight. So a cup of those, little blending machine, Magimix or similar type of machine. You need to be able to chop these without them becoming a puree. So that is the best piece of kit for the job. Cup of pecans. And we're going to use dates, which are our sweetener, and also, because they're quite sticky and fudgy, they're the binding agent which hold it together, along with a little bit of coconut. So I like the medjool dates because they're the most sort of fudgy textured. You need about 6-7 of these dates, so I'm guessing that comes into probably about 80 grams. I'm just taking out the seeds from the middle there, and any little bits of stalk end that are on there, just you don't want those bits in, they will be a bit chewy. So just whipping out the seeds, and then we're going to roughly chop it before it goes into the machine. Otherwise they have a tendency to stick to the blades. These are also very sweet, so the combination of this and the nuts, you really shouldn't need any other kind of sweetener in the base of this. Very rough chop, just about like so. The machine will do the rest. And drop those in. We're going to use some coconut butter. It's like a coconut oil with a little bit of the meat of the coconut still in it, so it has a creamier texture and a bit less fat basically. This comes, if you keep it in the fridge, it's reasonably firm, but what we're going to do is put a generous dessert spoonful into a bowl. We're just going to stand it on the agar because there's a lot of spare heat on the agar, and that will just soften that down. Doesn't need to be pouring consistency, but yeah, if it's been out at room temperature it might be about right. If not, it needs a very gentle soften. We're going to chop our dates in our little mixer here. Going to be noisy, excuse. What we're trying to achieve is a coarse crumb type texture. If you over whiz this at this stage, you'll end up something with like a nut butter. So you want to do it in bursts of 3 or 4 seconds and just have a look and see how it's chopping. Just want to show you that nice coarse texture, but no whole nuts at all. It's sort of broken down quite nicely. We're going to put that back on the machine and we're going to add into that our softened coconut butter. If you can't find the coconut butter, a little of the solid block of coconut oil will serve the same purpose. It's obviously got a little bit more fat in it, but you know, it wouldn't stop me doing the dish. Again, a little whiz just to combine all that. I want for this to actually clump together a little bit, and it's still very dry and crumbly, so we're going to add in juice from half a lemon. Just look out for pips. You really do not want to add pips to this. There's one that got away. Got it. Again, that's combining nicely, and you can just take a little pinch of it and just a little squeeze. You can feel that the oils from the coconut, a little bit of lemon juice, it's beginning to clump together, and that should then form a really nice base in our tart tin. We're going to use a loose bottom cake tin here. A tart tin, just something where you can push that up and get it out, makes serving it much easier. About a 9 or 10 inch tin is good. If you have a smaller tin, you'll have a deeper tart, so whichever you prefer. You can put the same amount of mix into a wider tin and have a very shallow thin tart. Mixture's all in there. Using the back of the spoon, you want to compress this, but you also want to get an edge on it, so there's a little stand up. So what I tend to do is use the back of the spoon, always do the edges first, back of the spoon and my thumb, and just push towards the thumb. There's enough natural oils in those seeds for it all to bind together. So I'm making the top of the edge using my thumb and pushing against the side of the tin with the back of the spoon, and go all the way around, just turning it around a little bit with your hand as you do this. And then at the end of that, just even up that top nicely, using again the back of the spoon just to lower it down, but support the edge with a couple of fingers just so you're making a nice little stand-up edge on that. And then the little pile you've got left in the middle, you want to evenly distribute that. And you really need to press down quite firmly, because when you serve this you don't want it to disintegrate, so we're just going to push it down with the back of the spoon there. You'll find this is a little bit sticky, tiny bit, I mean just a tiny bit of oil, olive oil, nuts, rapeseed oil, anything at all. You're just oiling the back of your spoon so it doesn't actually stick to it. But there you go, it now is going down nicely. Again, keep going round until you've got all that nicely firmed down to make a crust. There we are, that's nicely firmed down. At this stage, if your kitchen is warm particularly, we're going to pop that in the fridge. We've got a nice little crust with a raised edge. 10 minutes in the fridge will just make it a bit firmer and less inclined for the sides to crumble down. We're chilled for 10-15 minutes. Our Chia raspberry jam is beginning to thicken up nicely. You can see that the juice is beginning to go. This will carry on to thicken a little bit more when it's chilling in the fridge. So we're now going to pour that into our tart case and spread it around. Just very gently. You don't want to damage the edge of this crust, so it's nicely up to the edges there. And then we have more raspberries, about another 200 grams. We basically want to cover the whole of the top there. Now if you're patient, you can just make a lovely little arrangement, or if you like more rustic, just tip them on. Either way, they will taste just as good. We're going to make nice, neat little concentric circles. There we are, that's now ready to go in the fridge. It will need a good 2 hours. Your chia seeds are still absorbing the juice that's coming out of those raspberries, and the crust needs to set up firmly. We'll pop it away and we'll bring it out just before we're serving our meal, and then just release it from the tin and we'll see it ready to eat. Our Linzer has been in the fridge for a good couple of hours. Overnight would be fine as well. Now, it should just, with a little bit of gentle pressure on the bottom, push up. One of the little tricks is to have a little upturned bowl or saucer and just lower it down very gently, keeping the rim of the tin as even as possible as you go. There we are, it's released in the tin. And then just lift it. Don't try and take it off the base of your tin. It really is a stage too far. I think you'd be very lucky to get it off in one go. So we're just going to serve it on there.